Hi, everyone. My name is Carmen Cole. I am one of the social media editors for Portal Libraries and the Academy. I'm pleased to welcome Andrea Wirth, the Scholarly Communication Librarian for the University of Nevada, Las Vegas University Libraries. Today, they will be speaking to us about their article entitled Improved Open Access Support Through a Popular Open Access Fund. The article can be found on Portal's preprint site in Volume 25, Issue 1. The article is free to read, and viewers may access the article by navigating to the Johns Hopkins Press preprint site for Portal. So welcome, Andrea. I will start out by asking you what inspired you to delve into this research topic?
Hi, Carmen, and thank you for the questions. Um, as a proponent of open access and being in a role that focuses a lot on publishing, I had actually a really practical need to evaluate this UNLV Open Article Fund. It supports article processing charges. So it seemed to me things were going okay with the fund, but I had not sought really any kind of feedback from authors that applied to the fund, and it was in its fifth year by the time I had started to think of doing a survey. So it was actually time to check to see how the fund was faring from applicants' perspectives, from, again, the practical standpoint. But this turned into a bigger research project rather than just an internal assessment because while there's a lot to build on from the library literature on APC funds, I didn't find an example that combined APC fund assessment with open access efforts more broadly in the way I was thinking of doing in my survey. And this project provided an opportunity to gain some insights into a broader perspective of the authors who had applied for the fund, sort of helping me to understand their views on open access beyond just the fund itself.
Would you please be able to give us a summary of your article published in the latest issue of Portal?
Sure. So my paper covers the findings from the 2023 survey of authors who applied to the UNLV Open Article Fund between 2018 and 2022. The fund helps cover the cost of article processing charges, like I mentioned previously. And so the survey asks for feedback on the fund's value, impact, and award criteria and processes, and then goes a step further by asking authors several questions about things like funder public access policies and open science practices under an open access perception sections. And I can give some examples of what some of those areas were in the paper. So on the impact piece, impact addressed questions primarily about the impact on the author and their publication, such as the role of the fund's role in facilitating their open access publication decision, most of which were a yes, or whether they were likely to publish openly in the future, and whether they felt the fund supported the university's strategic efforts. In the area of value, questions were aimed at whether the authors or the library were getting their money's worth, so to speak. So this part addressed questions of whether the funds spent on APCs were more, less, or equal value to the same amount spent on collections, since that's where the bulk of our funding is coming from, and also whether authors felt their publisher charged a fair amount for the services rendered, which sort of touches on the issue of, the predatory publishing piece.
Absolutely.
And then for the criteria and management of the fund, the survey asked for opinions on eligibility for the fund. So this is where we have a very limited pool of people that can apply for the fund just because we don't have unlimited funds for this. So we got some recommendations there. And then also I asked about the process of applying for the fund and whether that was a smooth process or not. And then finally on that open access practices, kind of more generally, some of the questions and results show that the fund has been helpful in encouraging more open access publishing and improving attitudes towards it. Respondents also reported that they're involved in other open access publishing activities and believe most research should be freely available, and that was in regard to that public access policy piece. And then I sort of wrapped up with some suggestions to better connect the fund with other open access outreach efforts locally.
What big takeaway from your article do you have for Portal readers?
Yeah, so first, just to acknowledge that supporting an article processing charge fund is complex in its own right, particularly because of very obvious inequities inherent in the model of author pays. An author pays model is, highly variable around the globe, and how not everybody can necessarily participate in that model. So, but in terms of this study, which asked authors who had applied to the fund to share their thoughts on it, open access and open science topics, predatory publishing, and more, it demonstrates that the value of supporting an article processing charge fund can actually go beyond the one-off article payment transactions. It's a tool for the library to support open, um, obviously financially, but also as that method of outreach, and just one tool for authors to ensure their research is published in the best possible venue for that research. So I think continuing to work to decrease the labor of fund management to more time spent acknowledging its role in broader efforts is key. And hopefully that was a takeaway. It's a takeaway for myself, but hopefully for other folks as well.
Thank you so much for speaking with us about your article, Andrea. Again, viewers may read the article for free via the Johns Hopkins Press preprint site for Portal. Thank you for watching today, and keep an eye out for our next author interview.